Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Thanks for checking it out if you're new. This last weekend was opening weekend for the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Previously, over on Morgan M. Steele's channel, she reviewed the book and inspired me to then read the book. And then we both reviewed the book here on this channel. Now, I'm Connor, aka the Movie Turtle, and I'm joined by my friends today to review the movie.
Morgan.
Okay. Hi, my name is Morgan M. Steele. I'm an author. I talk about whatever I want over on my channel. Like Connor said, I did a book review, and then I joined him over here for our little chit-chat book club about this whole thing. And now we're talking about the movie.
My name is Phil, also known as Phil with 1L. I have my channel where I do the movie shenanigans just like these two. I didn't read the book, which is why I'm here today, because Connor, at gunpoint made me watch this movie. Because he wanted my opinion, my perspective as someone who hasn't read the book, and it's just like a casual. I haven't read any of the books. I've just been a fan of the movies, so just a casual audience member. And yeah, I'm ready to talk about this interesting tale.
For the viewers at home, I'm wearing the hat from the movie, the dog tags, all that, but I'm taking them off now.
Bought that shit for nothing.
So this review will be a little more structured than maybe those in the past. I'm kind of looking to go through the movie. We won't exactly beat for beat recap, and we might miss things, but oh well. And so yeah, I guess right off the bat, I want to say that the Hunger Games are back.
Woo!
As those of you who have been on the channel know, I didn't like the book. Morgan didn't like the book.
I also did not like the book.
And I didn't read it.
But
What a dream.
Yeah. And there you go. That's what brings all the different opinions and point of views to this video.
All of the different opinions. Didn't read the book and thought the book was bad.
The only two
All
opinions.
two opinions.
But that being said, I love this movie. I love all the Hunger Games movies.
Yeah, I thought it was a great adaptation, and we'll get into more detail, but it is like everything you need. Like none of the stuff that drags the book down for 500 pages. Like this is the Cliff Notes, and people were saying it should be 2 movies. I do not think so. I think maybe another half hour or so would have helped it along a little bit, but I thought it was great. I thought it was a great adaptation, and I really thought it like brought the story to life in a way that the book just kind of did not for me.
I liked it. As someone who hasn't read the book, I don't know. I haven't watched the Hunger Games movies in a really long time, so it was interesting just kind of jumping back into this world. And I'm very like picky when it comes to prequels because they usually suck and they're very hard to do. And so hearing that this is a prequel about President Snow and some girl, I expected it to just be a just dramatic love story, and then he gets his heart broken and then he's evil. But it didn't turn out to be that. It turned out to be actually really interesting and fascinating world building, which I was not expecting. So yeah.
So yeah, all good things. Like I said, we're going to go through the movie kind of. The movie, just like the book, is broken into 3 parts, 3 acts, part 1 through 3. And so if we start right off, we've got part 1, The Mentor. This is the largest and worst part of the book, and it is significantly shortened here. And I think it benefits a lot. There are some things I miss, but overall, the shortening is to the benefit. Like something right off the bat, the plinth prize is introduced right at the beginning of the movie, versus that's in the book. That's not introduced until after Sejanus does his whole shenanigans in the games, to kind of cover that up for the plinth family.
Yeah.
Versus here, it's introduced right off the bat, gives Snow his motivation besides just a good grade. Like,
Right.
in the book, they literally say, like, Yeah, there'll be some reward for the winning mentor, but we don't really know what it is yet.
Yeah, because it's all super experimental because this is like the first year they've ever done mentors before, so they don't have like any system in place. They're just like, go on in there, children, like give us a show and just kind of. So when it feels like they're scrambling, like they are, like they don't know, what they're doing or how or when. Um, yeah.
That's
R.I.P. Clemencia
interesting.
though.
Oh my goodness, that's one of
Was she dead?
I
No, not in the book. She comes back
I
and
meant in
like
the
is
movie.
the mentor still.
Yeah, you said that after, but I meant in the movie because I just thought she like just was
She
like
could be.
in a
Yeah.
coma
I was gonna
or paralyzed or something.
say Gaul
Right.
has the line where it's like, "Oh, we're gonna tell her parents she's got the flu," but
Yeah, that's why I thought, and you
yeah,
said R.I.P., so that's why I had to make sure.
that's like because Morgan said she comes back and she has scales now, like where she
Yeah.
was bitten, like up her arm,
Mhm.
and she
She has
comes,
to wear a scarf because they're like on her neck.
yeah,
It's great.
and
Cut all that.
she's Reaper's mentor, and so then when it
Yeah.
in the games, the final two are Reaper and Lucy, and so then it's the
Mhm.
like, oh look, the two of us back together again.
Yeah.
Versus here, yeah, Clemencia died on the way to the hospital, and just never seen
Yeah.
again.
Yeah, because she had like a whole character arc in the book where she like, goes through this arc of being really mean and bitchy after she got bitten by snakes and like that whole thing, and then she comes back and then they make up and they're friends again, like a whole little mini arc, and that all got cut out.
Another big part of this part one that's not in the movie that like I kind of talked with Phil about after the movie and before the movie is we're not inside Snow's head.
Yeah, thank God. Holy fuck. Holy shit.
And I feel like not being in his head almost makes it like how we thought the book was going to be, where it's like he
Mhm.
starts out as a kind of all right guy, and then he ends the book
Yeah.
a monster,
Yeah.
just because, yeah.
Because you don't hear all the shit that he's talking in his head about every single person in his life. Like, there's a whole big thing where everyone's like, oh, you and Sejanus are friends, right? And in his head, he's like, I fucking hate that guy. I can't believe everyone thinks he's my best friend. Fuck Sejanus. I like, that's his, like, he hates him so much. And then, he does all the shit pretending to be his friend because his dad is really rich and all this stuff at the end where he's like, we're brothers, and like in the book he's like, fuck this guy, I hate this guy, I fucking hate that the whole time. And he's like that with every person in his life. He thinks his grandmam is annoying. I think he holds Tigress in an okay light for like most of it. But he hates everyone and everything, and all we hear about is like cabbage soup and how poor he is, and he's worried about his clothes not looking good enough, and I'm so glad we didn't get any of that in the movie.
Yeah, that works out a lot better, I think, just for his arc in general. Because if he just starts off from the get, just an awful person, I think that would have been an unbearable movie to watch. But I think it makes it more interesting since he is our lead character that he does. I don't know, because that's just if you're telling a villain origin story, if they have just been a villain their whole lives, if they've just been a sucky person since they
Mhm.
were born, it's not
Mhm.
really an interesting origin story. So I think that's neat that they got rid of that.
Yeah.
Sorry, Suzanne.
Another thing in the movie is they definitely shortened the
Mhm.
time before the games. Like, I
Yeah.
went back and looked. In the book, it's 2 weeks. They arrive in
That's
the
what I thought.
capital, and
Yeah.
then they have 2 weeks to prepare.
Mhm.
Versus in the
It's
granted,
like
it could
3
be an
days.
editing
Yeah.
thing, but it appears, like you said, to be like 3 days.
Yeah. And then also I feel like in the book there was more time between like specifically the bombing and like the games
Mhm.
because Coriolanus was like in the hospital for a while and like recovering and kind of in and out of consciousness. He sees Clemencia again. She comes in, she's covered in scales. He's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like that stuff got cut. And then how I don't know, because they have him come to when Lucy is already on TV, and like he was with her like when that happened. He was like there when she went out on stage, and like all the mentors were with their tributes, but he was still in the hospital in the movie at that point, which I think is an interesting. It's very much like cutting that corner kinda, and I think it is like the pacing. They're trying to like really trim everything down. But that was one of the points where I was like, we could go like a little slower. We could take like 5 more minutes to get him there.
Yeah, I think overall part one is benefited by the shortening, but it's that
Mhm.
those last few days between the games where I feel like we almost needed to leave that. Like, yes, you
Mm.
can cut out the like whole first week of him complaining about cabbage soup and hating Clemencia, but like you said,
Yeah.
there's no resolution for him and Clemencia. Tigress and Lucy bond in the book over like
Mhm.
Lucy's clothes and Tigress's fashion, and you know, I don't even know
Mhm.
if they talk, and I don't think they talk
I
in the
don't think they
movie.
even meet. Yeah.
Like I was really bummed about that because
Mhm.
Tigress fixing
Sweet
Lucy's dress
moment.
for her
Yeah.
is cute.
I love Tigress. She slayed. She slayed so hard. I love her so much.
Yeah, Pluribus, who gives Lucy the guitar. He's
Yeah.
not. She just has the
Does not
guitar.
exist. Yeah.
Can say they still have the line where she's like, "If you can get me a guitar," but then the bombing
Uh-huh.
happens and he wakes up and oh, she's on TV.
And she has one now. Yeah. Yeah. There were more mentors that died too in the book. There were like a whole bunch more that died specifically in the bombing, and then they just kind of whittled it down to the president's son. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, I get it. We're not establishing more characters. That's fine. But how hard would it be to say, like, yeah, a bunch of people died in the bombing? Whole bunch of them. And there were like funeral scenes in the book too. There was a funeral for Arachne, the one who got killed at the zoo, and then there was a funeral for the twins, who were the ones that died in the bombing.
Yeah, and I can't remember
And that all got cut.
whose funeral it is, but Snow sings at one of them. And then
Yeah.
that's another thing where him and Lucy, you know, oh, you're a little songbird like me, and he's, you know, no,
Mhm.
I'm no songbird. I'm a snake. Get it? You know, he doesn't say that, but
You should.
and so all the bombing happens, and then it's the games the next day. Woo!
Woo.
And
Woo.
this was my favorite part of the book and my favorite part of the movie. Who could have seen this
Yeah.
coming?
It's so good in the movie.
First and foremost, the games aren't terrible in the movie like they are in the book. And like
Mhm.
they're supposed to be
Mhm.
terrible on purpose. But it
Mhm.
makes a boring read.
Yes, yes, it does.
Because yeah, in the book, the games are there are no cameras. There are only cameras in the main like arena opening section, and we're stuck in Coriolanus's head, so we only see what he
So he's
sees.
watching it on a screen,
Yeah.
so we see even less.
And so yeah, in the book, the whole games are just Coriolanus sitting at that desk, waiting for somebody to kill someone. Versus, yeah, it's a movie. It's way more dynamic and fun and cool. And I was scared it wasn't going to be cool just because we had the other movies where it's these huge arenas, you
Mhm.
know, the forest from the first one and the ocean slash beach, the time dial from Catching
Mhm.
Fire. And then it's like, oh, they're just in a building. But
Yeah.
I liked it.
Yeah. What did you think of the tributes, Phil? Without any like background knowledge of them.
I thought. Is there anyone in particular that you
Um,
want?
I mean, just kind of in general. I don't know, like the
I was gonna
group of
say
them.
in general, I thought that there was it was a good mix. I thought all of them did really like well. I think they looked actually like I know this was like a huge thing around the time that the first movie came out, where it's like it's
Mhm.
called The Hunger Games, but they don't really look that hungry because everyone just looked really healthy. But I think
Mhm.
this time it actually did look like they just kind of threw a bunch of poor people in a room, and they're and one of them's really sickly, and like they really just sold that part. Like it was really
Mhm.
a lot more. It was I was a lot more immersed in it, and I did like the kind of messed up stadium, just kind of claustrophobia of that, of just being in that just kind of one room, and then there's like a couple holes to crawl into, and like there's this one stack of bricks that you can climb onto, and that one girl is like sleeping on the rubble, and I thought that was really cool. I thought that they utilized that space really well. Um, but yeah, I liked all the tributes, and I also liked like sort of the costume design. It really sold like that they all did come from different districts. That part was really, I think that was strong.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, and you mentioned the arena because they do have the. I think they say it in the movie where they have. Well, yeah, Coriolanus. They have the whole scene. That's not in the movie where Coriolanus go, or that's not in the book, if I remember correctly. Coriolanus going and scouting out the arena after the bombing.
Oh yeah, no, that is not in the book.
Because
not in the book at all.
Because before this, the games are supposed to be like a 1 day, couple hours thing, because they can't go anywhere.
Style, out in the open.
Versus, yeah, it's cool. When I looked at it, the games and the books take place over 5 days, and it's kind of just 5 days of waiting. Versus here in the movie, it seems like it's only a day or two. Like,
yeah.
Again, could be the magic of editing.
Maybe like 3 days. Yeah. Yeah, especially with Jessup, like as sick as he is, I think he only made it like 2 nights, so it was probably only 3 days. And it was all like condensed, like especially at the end, because in the book it does get down to like a final 2 and it's Reaper versus Lucy. But in the movie they were like, nah, we gotta end this shit like right now. And they drop all the snakes and just kill everyone at the same time.
Yeah.
I was like, oh.
Did the snake bomb not happen in the book?
Well, it does happen in the book, but it's like, I don't know, it's like slower, and I feel like it does kill a few tributes, but it's not like boom, 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 boom like it is in the movie.
I was gonna say, at least I know Lucy is not above ground when the snake bomb goes off.
Right.
In the book. And so that's again, like, we're inside Snow's head, and it's like, oh my god, did the snakes eat her? Is she alive down there? Versus in the movie, they are like, we have cameras in the tunnels. So.
Oh my god. And that line, I was like, huh? we put cameras down there. I was like, you what? You did, huh?
But yeah, and then with the arena, something I just remembered that I love is I love the enjoy the show at the turnstile.
Yeah,
that's such a good.
Oh, good.
And that also is interesting just for the world of just like that people were meant to go and sit and watch like it's a basketball game or something. Like there's supposed to be people like in the stands watching that, and I'm like, that's so sick. But like in a like not like cool sick, but like twisted. Like that's so twisted and so dark. But I loved it.
Yeah. I like overall, like speaking of, like the set design, the turnstile, I really like all the vintage like technology. I really, really like the world building with all of that because like in the original trilogy, it's all like hyper futuristic, like all of this crazy like sci-fi technology. And in this one, it's still like advanced for like what it would be at the time. Like if we're saying this is like the 1920s or 1940s equivalent, like they have FaceTime, like he FaceTimes Tigris at one point. So it is like advanced, but like
it's very
all of the
janky.
Radios look older. Yeah. Like all of it's like stylized to look like 50s tech.
It's really very cool. Steampunk, which I thought was just so cool.
Yeah, very neat.
It's just neat. I just think it's neat.
And like during the games, they changed some of the deaths. And again, I think overall they're for the better. Like Marcus, the one who's chained to the beam, in the book, because it's Snow's perspective, it's a little more ambiguous. If when the district is she fought. I don't remember. But when she climbs up there and kills him with the hatchet, and what's his name? Fucking.
Marcus Sejanus?
The announcer.
Oh, Lucky.
Yeah, Lucky Flickerman. There it is.
Lucretius Flickerman.
King.
He's so funny.
But yeah, he has the like murder mercy line. And in the book, it is kind of like a did she? Or was it just a easy target?
Right.
Yeah, no, Lucky
Yeah.
is really good in the movie. Again,
So
he's not really in the book that much. He definitely, I think, has
yeah.
more screen time in the movie, which
Mhm.
is to the
He
movie's
was just too
benefit.
good. They
I
were
was about
like,
to
we
say
gotta
that
get this
was a
guy
really
on
good choice.
screen.
Yeah.
Oh
It's
my
such good
god.
casting with Jason Schwartzman.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't. It's so good. You like, it's crazy that him and Stanley Tucci, like, you just really can believe that they're related, and
Mhm.
that's such. It's so good.
Yeah. Wow, when that first trailer came out, I did think it was Stanley
I thought
Tucci,
it
and I
was
was like,
too.
"Oh my god, they got Stanley
Yeah.
back." And then I was watching, and I was like, "That's not Stanley Tucci," but he looks like him. Holy shit!
And on the
Oh
subject
my
of that
god.
character, I thought another thing that this movie did really well was like Easter eggs, like with
Yes,
the two in a high chair. It's
perfect.
just like that's such a good little nudge. Like it's not like the Easter eggs weren't really in your face. It's not like,
Mhm.
you know, wink, get it. It's just like a little thing that they throw out there, and it's like if you catch it, you catch it. If you don't, we're moving on. And
Mhm.
I really like that.
Yes.
Yeah, so good.
That was something I had in my notes that, yeah, the Easter eggs in the movie are a lot better than the book. Because the book
Yeah.
shoves that shit down your throat. They literally have, like, Grand Mam, I think, only has like one or two scenes in the movie. She's all over the
Yeah.
book. She's sitting
Yeah.
there, oh my goodness, if the rebellion starts again, the districts would catch fire. And it's like, no, don't do that. No, please.
No, that's yeah.
No.
Like you
That's such
said.
a movie thing. You would expect the movie to do that before the book.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
Yeah,
in the
he's a
games,
tigress.
Tigress. I know
Tigress.
Tigress gets a lot more screen
Mhm.
time, not a lot more, but more than she
Right.
had in the book. At
Mhm.
least in
Oh,
Acts 2 and 3. She's all
Yeah.
over Act 1, but then
Mhm.
she's kind of, once the games start, she's not really there.
Yeah.
And I don't think she's in Act 3 at all in the book.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Versus they at least give her
Maybe
the
at the end.
the FaceTime
Yeah.
call
FaceTime call.
and
Yeah.
then the line at the end, the "you look just like your father."
so good. It's so good.
Yeah.
That's a movie that's not in the book.
Yeah, I'm noticing a pattern here. It's like
Mhm.
all the stuff that they added to the movie is a lot better. I guess.
Really good.
Sorry, Suzanne. But yeah, oh my gosh, Hunter Schafer delivered that line
Oh, she's so
so. She
good.
killed
Yeah. Yeah, I don't remember. It's been a while since I read it. I haven't read it since like May. I don't remember if Coral was like that bloodthirsty in the book. Like I know she kind of had like a little bit of a pack going, but I don't remember her being like so intense. I don't know, but like I said, I haven't read it in a while.
Yeah. I think that's just a movie thing. Like,
Okay.
because
I thought
again, we're
so.
not stuck with Coriolanus.
Right.
So we can kind of hear. Because that's another thing in the book where, like, they don't really hear what the tributes are saying in the arena either. It's just like a visual thing. Because it's like, oh, the sound system got blown up.
Got blown up with the bomb.
And they changed the deaths in the games, which, yeah, like I said, like Wovie, the little girl who gets taken out by the snakes, in the book, she's killed by Lucy with the poisoned water. She
Oh.
has Dill's death, and
Oh,
Dill
I
just
Oh.
forgot
Dill just
yeah.
dies of he heals over dead from tuberculosis.
God.
Yeah, I think it would have made it way too sad if they had given it to Wovie. Like, it was still
Yeah.
sad with Dill, but it
I
would have
mean,
been.
both was still sad.
Yeah.
Even with the snakes, it was sad.
Yeah.
And
I like Wobie's characterization a lot because, like, most of the tributes in the book, like, don't really get characterized at all. Like, most of them, aside from like Reaper, Lucy, and Jessup. But like most of them you don't really hear much about. But I really like that, like, they took the time to kind of give them each personalities and like make
Yeah.
them like fuller characters. I think that's really good. But Wovie, she's so little, and her line, "Can we go home now?" I was like,
Yeah. So it's so twisted. This movie is so twisted, but in a really fun kind of way. But it does that really well. But yeah, I do like what you said about like them characterizing the like tributes. Because another thing that caught me, I don't know the name, but there was that one tribute that kind of joined the pack and left his friend behind, and then they kind of like focus on him when she gets killed, and he just has that quick moment of looking and like kind of regret, but it's just enough to make you feel, let you know what he's feeling. It's just stuff like that that's really great.
Yeah, so good. All the little moments with them,
Yeah.
so good.
Like Marcus finding Dill, finding her
Yeah.
dead. Because that again, like Morgan said when we saw the movie, Phil, not Marcus, Reaper.
Yeah.
Reaper is just coming out with, like, he's just picking up the bodies. And again, we don't hear anything. But it's just, in the movie when he's like screaming over her body.
Yeah, he's a lot colder in the book, and also he has like a line before the games where he's talking to the other tributes and he like apologizes for having to kill them in the games. He's like, "I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to kill all you guys, but I gotta win and get out of here." It's like,
I gotta put
we don't
me
get
first.
But yeah, I loved him in the movie. I thought they did him really well and just like gave him some more compassion that he didn't have in the book.
And I felt like the movie didn't make Sir Janus's break into the arena like as big as a thing as it was in the book. Like Gald literally just walks over to Coriolanus asleep and wake your ass up.
You better get your ass off this bed.
Versus, I think Corio's at home when it happens.
And then I don't remember if they call him or what, and they're like, "Go get your."
I was gonna say, friend. I think Gaul calls him.
And he's like, "But I'm not his friend," and they're like, "Go get him!" And he's like,
"Get your mans."
Yeah, love Sejanus. I love him so much. I loved him in the book, and it's no surprise that I also love him in the movie. His chair throwing scene is such a slay. Love him.
His parents don't really. I don't think they get any speaking lines. They're just seen when they pick him up. Versus,
I was gonna ask about that because that's the one thing that felt like it felt like there was more there with his parents. And his relationship with his mother, that just felt like a thing that I was like, okay, that feels thin, weirdly.
Yeah, especially because his dying words are like calling out to her, and then you don't get like anything. In the book, she cooks them like a ton of food. She's just like cooking and baking stuff all the time, and like giving it to Snow, giving it to Sejanus, making sure like everyone is fed. Like that, she's like really big on that. Even when they go to the peacekeeper, whatever, she still like sends them packages of food, and there's like a whole thing where like they have to trade the popcorn balls that she sends to get like money so they can go do stuff and like go to the bar and stuff, and all of that got cut out too. But yeah, she is like very, very, very close to Sejanus, and she's like kind of trying to be the mother of the community, and Snow talks a lot of shit about her because he hates district people and she's from District 2, and he's like, "Oh, this poor lady with her poor weird artifacts from her poor town." And it's like, shut up. He's like, "Why would you bring this trash to your nice capital house?" Like, dude. I hate him. I hate him so much.
The drones, I don't feel were maybe as big of a deal in the movie as they are in the book. I was gonna say, you still have the crash and Lucky with the what's he say? It's like,
those are not very good.
Yeah.
Those are not very good. Yeah, because in the book they're like slow. Like that's the thing. They're slow and they don't get where they're supposed to go. So they'll just kind of like sputter across the arena. And in this one they are projectile weapons. I thought was nuts.
That's another thing that I think it's great that it ups the action in a really fun way. That I'm glad they kind of changed that.
I'm gonna say Snows.
Yeah, when that first one came in, I knew it would crash, but I didn't know it was gonna come flying in.
And yeah, when Snow sends like the 1,000,000 water bottles to hit all the other tributes, like that's not in the book, but that's such a good
shower.
and how whoever's mentor is just like, hey, you can't.
You can't help them. It's like, I'm just sending her water.
Hey, water.
Or you can't like fight that. You can't hit the tributes. It's like, I'm just sending them water. It's like, that's really great.
I mean, technically, he did not hit the tributes.
Yeah.
Technically, Capital Drones hit the tribute.
Yeah, and then the District 3 doesn't weaponize the drones like they do in the book.
Oh, I love that. They make a Franken drone out of all of the broken parts and try to weaponize it, and they just got cut out altogether. I don't even know if they survived the quarter quell, or not the quarter quell, the cornucopia slaughter.
I loved it in the movie. It was awkward in the book and especially terrible because I listened to the audiobook. But Lucy's like song to quell the snakes
Yes.
is so good
Yeah.
in the movie.
Yeah.
Because again, she's not outside when the snake bomb goes off. She's down in the
Right.
tunnels. So she just comes out and she's, like singing to him and all the snakes are following her.
Yeah.
And it's yeah. And in the audiobook, he doesn't sing.
La la la.
Yeah.
La 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 la.
Versus, it's so much cooler to have her out there and sitting covered in the snakes singing.
And that's
Very
also a really good like thing that this movie nails. It's just because like when you have music in books and it is just the lyrics, you don't have any melody to base it off of. So you're forced to come up with your own, and then when you see it in the movie, it's like, that's not how I imagined that song. But I feel like all the music here is like so strong that even if it doesn't match what you imagined in the book, I feel it still holds on. It's on its own. It's pretty strong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought all the music was good in this movie.
Yeah.
I saw that on TikTok before we went, where it was people like, oh my god, cringe. And it's like, what did you think? What is a ballad? What is a ballad?
Mm-hmm.
The movie's not a musical, but it almost has so many songs that you almost
Yeah.
can say.
Yeah. Especially if you don't like country or folk music.
Yeah.
If you hate Taylor Swift, man, you're in for a treat.
Not if you hate Taylor Swift.
I mean, it's very much in that vein. I don't even have to look it up to know that there's people who are gushing over this movie are also Swifties. I just know it. I feel it in my bones. Well,
I really like Dean Highbottom. He's great. Slay, Peter
He's cool.
Dinklage.
Did we want to go into more of like Snow's first kill?
Oh yeah, I totally
Yeah.
grazed over it in my notes, but yeah, go Phil.
No, I thought that's just, I don't know. Well, I mean, kind of what I want to talk about goes into like part 3 and stuff, so I'm not going to talk too much about it. But the thing I like about this movie in general is just like, again, for a villain origin story, it's really good. And I'm like, most villain origin stories just do the like Joker thing where it's like one bad day and that's why they're evil. But here it's just like a series of things that happens to Snow that kind of leads him to just lean into it. And I thought that this, him forcing himself to kill the tribute, like he's backed into a wall essentially to kill that tribute, I think was a good kind of like turning point for the story. And that's basically it. The beginning of his downfall. And I think it was a really good scene that marked that.
Yeah, no, killing that tribute is good. And again, better in the movie than it is in the book. Because like you said, it fits with his downfall arc that's in the movie. Versus again in the book, he's, I had to beat this stupid poor kid to death to get out of the arena.
And I'm eating fucking cabbage soup again. No, and then we get the great line from what is Viola Davis's character's name again?
Gall.
Dr. Gall.
Dr. Gall. Yeah, just that great line of like, fueled with the terror of like becoming prey. Watch how quickly we become predator. So good. That's such a good line. Yeah.
Yeah, no. Morgan brought up Dean Highbottom and you brought up Gall. Both Viola Davis and Peter Dinklage in this movie are perfect in those roles. I know
Yeah.
Dinklage doesn't get a ton to do, but that's also because Dean Highbottom's not really in the book.
Right.
Yeah, I love Viola
Yeah.
Davis's performance in this movie.
Yeah.
Like,
She's so good.
she was on, it's either Fallon or Kimmel. It's Fallon, I
One of them.
think.
One of the
Yeah,
Jimmys.
she was on one of the Jimmys, and she was just talking about how, like, yeah, I just kind of I want to do more crazy roles like this.
She's earned the right. Like,
Yeah.
she's won so many awards and done so much like serious stuff that I think she's earned the right in her career to just have fun. And that's
Yeah.
what it looks like she's doing in this movie. She's having so much fun in her like Dr. Frankenstein like mad scientist. It's so good.
So good. I love the costume design too with the red gradient. So good.
Yeah. The
So good.
gloves. Yeah.
Yeah.
So good.
And I also, with another book change, is the Gaul hesitating to let Lucy out is not in the books.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
that's
I
also
didn't think.
really cool. With all of the students then chanting, let her out.
Mhm.
And just
Mhm.
that, that look where it is just, son of a bitch. I really want these snakes to eat her. And yeah, just again feeding into the Snow's arc of, his, the people won't watch if there is no victor. And
Mhm.
how that comes to bite him in the ass 60
Yeah.
years later.
Oh, so good. Yeah. Also, the cheating thing wasn't like a big point in the book either. Like at the beginning, he's like, "If you get caught cheating, you're gonna get in trouble," and I was like, "Oh," because like Snow just thought he was gonna get away with it in the book. Like they had no warning. He just was like doing his own thing. He was obviously cheating, like giving her rat poison and shit. But there was no like "you shall not cheat" like warning at the beginning. He just thought he could get away with it. And so then it's like a big twist when at the end of Act 2, he walks into Dean Highbottom's office and he has all three of the things. He has the napkin that he used to smuggle her food, he has the compact that he put rat poison in, and then he has the handkerchief with her scent on it, and you're like, "Oh shit."
Okay. I was just about to ask if it's not like if there's no warning in the book, does he still get in trouble? But you just answered
Yes.
Yeah.
Big trouble.
Lucy wins, he gets caught, and he gets sent off to be a peacekeeper for part 3.
Woo!
Which is the shortest part of the book, unfortunately, and
Yeah.
is therefore feels rushed in the movie.
Mhm.
And this is where I assume the two of you say that you can see where maybe this movie needs more time or a second movie.
Mhm.
Is the Peacekeeper section.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it should have been 2 movies. I'm just saying I see where people say that it could be. And it
Mhm.
also just because it just feels like a different movie, not in a bad way, but there's just so much other stuff going on, and it feels so separate from the first 2 acts that it is just like kind of its own thing. And then also hearing that there is, that it is the shortest and feels kind of rushed. It is, yeah. It just feels like more could have been done, or maybe, well, no, never mind. I was gonna say maybe explore it in like a mini series, but I could never curse this movie or book to the 6 episode event, a fate worse than death. I could But yeah, this I also really enjoyed Act 3. It's kind of where the movie becomes a really fun like political thriller, and is
Mhm.
really like a lot more captivating. Like on paper, if you were to read to me like, "Oh, this is what happens in Act 3," I'd be like, "Oh, that sounds boring." But watching it on screen, I was like, "Oh, this is interesting. The intrigue and the betrayal. It's all good. It's all there, and it's really good."
Yeah, Act 3 is my favorite part of the book. I really liked the Peacekeeper because, like, I like the games. I like, especially when, like, Snow has to go into the arena. I think that's really interesting. But Peacekeeper in the book is finally where, like, the pace starts to pick up a little bit and things actually start to happen. And I really like it a lot. I think it is wonderful. Rip Sejanus. You will be missed, King. Yeah, they like speed up the beginning of it significantly because Snow gets to District 12 and he's there for like a while before Sejanus shows up, and he mentions like, "Oh, I was suicidal before you showed up." And he says that on the train, but like he was in District 12 like being suicidal, and he was like, "I want to die. I don't want to be here anymore. I hate the districts. I hate all these poor people. I don't want to be a cop." Like just crying. And then Sejanus shows up, and he is like genuinely like happy to see him, and he's like, "Oh my God, Sejanus! Oh, I've never loved you more than I love you right now." And they actually have like a little bit of a brother arc before he starts being an asshole again. So, yeah.
Yeah, he's sent to be a peacekeeper in District 12, and then he finds Lucy.
Hmm.
We get the hanging tree, the origin, which
Hmm.
that's one of, again, the prequel things I liked in the book, and I like it here, the
Hmm.
origin of the hanging tree song.
Hmm.
And just, again, in 65 years, he's going to be shitting his britches when he hears that song again. And the Covey, which is Lucy's people and Lucy's band, which she brought up earlier in the movie. I don't remember her talking so much about it in the book.
Right.
Like, I feel
Hmm.
like that's not really a thing until Act 3, versus she brought it up
Right.
when they were in the zoo. How she's,
Hmm.
I am not District 12, my people are Covey, and all
Hmm.
that. So.
And I was just wondering, like, what is that? Like, sort of, like, do they kind of exist outside? How do they exist outside of the districts? Would be my
Yeah,
question,
so
I
they
guess.
were like traveling musicians. They were kind of like Romani coded, where they would just go from town to town, sing their stuff, make money that way, and then move on to the next place. And then, like, after the rebellion, the capital was like, you gotta pick one. You gotta be in one district. So they rounded them all up and put them in 12. Um, but yeah, they were just like a traveling like group of musicians before that.
Okay, interesting.
In the book, the Covey are there. They're prominent. We learn each of their names, and they're all named
Hmm.
after a song and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Versus in the movie, we only see Maud Ivory, and even then, it's
Hmm.
just like, oh, Maud Ivory, go grab the guitar,
Hmm.
like, and so that was a bit of a bummer. But it's also one of those when you're adapting a book to a movie. It
Gotta cut
didn't,
some stuff.
yeah.
Yeah. Sad. Yeah, because the Covey is really cool. That was like one of my favorite parts of the third act was just like learning more about them and their lore and getting to know them and all the drama with Billy Top. Oh my God, like all of that stuff.
Billy.
So fun.
And then what's the mayor's daughter's?
Mayfair.
Yeah, Mayfair. And again, kind of, did you have something with this, Phil, or how you said? You
Uh,
talked about Snow's first kill, and then you said it feeds into your thoughts on the third act.
no, just like his arc in general, just like the idea. I like just like Snow's motivation in general, and talking about the story is just his origin and how he got to the. You just really see how this person grows up to be the President Snow that we know from the original trilogy, and the fact that it is just set up in a way where he kills that kid in the arena, and it kind of almost awakens something in him to the point where it kind of proves that, like, oh, I've killed this kid, and when backed into a corner, this is, see how quickly I become predator. Where it's just like he keeps digging himself into this hole, which I thought is interesting. It's like not even necessarily that he's against the idea of rebellion. It's just he's gotten this far, and he, wants to build his way back up to the capital and, provide for his family and all that. And so it is kind of just like a circumstance thing where it's just like I've gotten this far. And it also kind of goes into the line that the the one who led the pack during the game. So what was her name again?
Coral.
Yeah, the line that she has to Lucy, like right before she dies, of just, it's not fair. I can't have killed them all for nothing, which is a really
Hmm.
good line. Very
So
tragic.
sad.
Yeah, but you could also kind of translate that to Snow in a sense, where it is just like he, he's betrayed his best friend. He, killed the kid in an arena, and then he killed the mayor's daughter and her boyfriend Billy Top, and it's just like how fun, and potentially Lucy, but just he keeps digging himself in this hole. It's like I made it this far, and so then you can see when he gets to the point where it's like Katniss and PETA, and it's like if these two ruin everything that I have, like if this rebellion wins, I can't let this rebellion win because I can't have killed everyone for nothing. And I just think I thought that was just brilliant, just really greatly written, just beautiful. Yeah, that was just my thoughts. Just Snow's arc in general, I just thought was just so fascinating.
Yeah. Also, speaking of the 3 kills, he literally at the end he could have said, instead of like, my old self, I killed him. He literally could have said that he takes responsibility for both Billy Top and Mayfair.
I thought that's what he was gonna say, and then when he said my old self, I was like, okay.
All right.
That's not what I would have went with, but sure.
All the pain in my heart.
Oh, but I fully thought he was gonna say that because I have forgotten at that point that he didn't shoot Mayfair, that it was the other guy, and so I fully thought he was gonna say that. And then he said my old self, and I was like, and even Lucy knew that's some bullshit right there.
That's some bullshit.
The look she gave him, like, okay.
Yeah, and then it's a debate. It's left ambiguous in the book, and I think it's still left ambiguous in the movie, of Lucy Gray's ending. Like you said, of would she have come back had Snow,
I don't
like,
think so.
and that
Personally,
kind of stuff.
Of course she comes back because she becomes President Coin.
Ah.
I tried to say it with a straight face. I couldn't. But I usually hate ambiguous stuff like that. But here I thought it worked really well, especially because it has the foreshadowing of the song that she wrote. And it has Snow ask her, like, does she survive? It's like, oh no, maybe she flew away. And I kind of like that it kind of translates into the real life of the story of just like maybe she did fly away and she like survived, or maybe she didn't. And I also kind of think it works because it's kind of from Snow's perspective, like in the book almost. So at that point, like, he wouldn't really know, and it also leans into the paranoia that he has of like, I got to clean up all the loose ends. What if she's still out there? And it kind of leans into like that kind of perspective of like maybe he's just paranoid, or and fearing for no reason, or maybe she is actually out there. And I like that.
Yeah, I was afraid, especially when that scene was starting. I was afraid that they were going to lean a little more definitive, especially when you kind of see her double back and like run through the trees and get shot. And I was like, oh my fucking God, don't do this to me. Like, don't. And then he was like, looking for her body and he couldn't find her. And I was like, oh, like maybe he's like seeing things. Like then it was like a little more ambiguous. And I was like, okay, like, we're good. But scared me there for a second.
Yeah, and then same thing with the, like you said, of hearing her sing. He doesn't hear, it's just the Mockingjays doing the, the tune, because they can't mimic voices. And I think Lucy's ambiguous ending was handled really well in the movie. I like to believe she went off to go live in the woods / District 13, whatever you want to say. She didn't become Coin, but like she at least she went off, lived a happy life. And even though Snow tried to erase her legacy, it still lives on. District 12 and Katniss. It's not mentioned. I don't think it's mentioned in the movie. But in the book, they also destroy all copies of the 10th Hunger Games.
Yeah, all the copies are gone, and also no one watched them because most of the district people don't have TV. So, like, the Capitol people watched it, but then they just, kind of struck it from the record because it was such a disaster, and most of the mentors died, and most of the tributes died before the game started, and they were like, yeah, nope, and then erased it, and, like, just erased her from history.
Interesting. I do like that, actually, because that is one of the things I did know, was just knowing about the game, that this was focusing on the 10th Hunger Games. And I thought that was just hearing like this is a prequel, and it's like you're focusing on the 10th one. That's a weird number. And
Mhm.
then watching the movie and finding out, this was how the Hunger Games became, the Hunger Games, the like crazy show like spectacle it was, because before that it was just, Thunderdome, just kids, watching kids fight each other. Before it was like an actual sport that people watched and gathered around, and it was like a huge spectacle that it was. And so I was like, oh,
Mhm.
okay, that's cool. That's an interesting idea.
Yeah, and then they also, because of that, I think in the coming years after that, they make it illegal to not watch the Hunger Games. So, like, legally, you
Oh.
have to watch the games when they air, and that's why they, like, in the mines when Gail is working, they have all the TVs up so that they can watch it even at work, because they are, like, required by law to watch the Hunger Games and be reminded of the war. And
Mm.
that's because of the snow, too, because no one watched the 10th games, and he was like, well, they should be required to, and Gaul was like, I like you, boy. I like your ideas.
And then he kills Dean Highbottom at the end. And I love that reveal too, because how the whole movie and book, Dean Highbottom fucking hates snow. He's a little more outright in the movie with it than he is in the book, but that's because you have to be, because again, in Snow's head, he's he grades
He
my
hates
he
me,
grades my
me, me,
homework hard, and he but versus in the book or in the movie you have that scene where he comes up to him during the games and how he's like, even if that fucking girl wins, you are not getting this plinth prize. Like that whole bit.
I
Yeah.
like that I like the setup of that, of just like, because
Mhm.
I don't know, I mean, I love Peter Dinklage and I love that his performance, but it was, you're set up to think that Snow's the protagonist, so it is just like, well, this guy's the villain. And then
Mhm.
the reveal at the end where he kind of just, spills the beans. He's like, oh yeah, I was friends with your father, and he gives that whole backstory. And then it's like, oh, now that makes sense, and it kind of just flips the table to where like now Snow is, where he is, and he perfectly fits in the villain slot just like his father.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so I like the way that the architecture of that and how that was set up. Just it's just like it's like poetry. It rhymes. Just like
Mhm.
it's so good. Of just like his father was the one who kind of had the Hunger Games started in the first place, and now Snow is the reason that it is gonna keep going, because there was the chance that it could have stopped, it could have ended it, but now Snow is the one continuing that legacy, and it's like, oh, it's so perfect, it's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like all the stuff they added with Dean Highbottom, where like that line he has where he's like, "Well, I don't know if they'll continue the games after this. It's quite a disaster," and you can tell he doesn't want them to continue the games, and I love that so much. It just like adds another layer to him.
And another, like, leading into the like deliciously dark, that darkness that this movie has, is like the idea that the Hunger Games were just created in a drunken stupor. It's
Mhm.
Mhm.
just so like this thing that is like carried on for like 75 years and has killed so many and ruined
Mhm.
lives, came out of just a guy who got drunk and threw it out there as a joke. And it's just, that's
Mhm.
so dark but so good that it's just awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like you two said, of just like you said, it's poetry, it rhymes. If they, Snow's father created the games, and then Snow will now turn them into what we see in the
Yeah.
original trilogy.
It's so good.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's so poetic the way it just all the pieces fall into place. All the pieces fall into place so Snow can fall on top.
Ah.
It's great.
Yeah.
Oh my god. I think they only say it that one time or two times in the
So
movie.
much in the book.
I
So much in the
was
book.
gonna say it is so good in the movie, the snow falls on top,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because he says that about every other. He says that in like every conversation he has with the
It's
dean.
his daily affirmation.
Yeah.
He
It's
says it's him
snow falls on top.
trying to make fetch happen.
Yeah. And so it is, like you said, it works so well as the closing line of the movie.
Yeah, and that's another thing, like poetry, it rhymes, because I think they only do it twice, right? Where it's like High Bottom says that's the sound of snow falling, and then
So good.
snow at the end is like snow falls on top, like continuing it,
Yeah.
and that's really good.
Yeah.
This movie really knows how to set up and deliver, and that
Mhm.
in a very satisfying way, because a lot of movies just do set up and then don't know how to deliver. But this movie follows through very strongly.
So definitely a good adaptation. Arguably one of those times where the movie is better than the book.
Way better than the book.
And yeah, I guess I have the question for both of you of, do you want more?
Yeah. Immediately. Now.
I
Now.
am open to it now.
Mhm.
Whereas before I wasn't, because again, like I said, prequels are very hard to do. And so when I heard this was announced, when it was like, because the book and the movie were announced at the same time, like Suzanne was writing it, and they were like, yeah, when she's done with that, we're making it a movie. And I was just like, it's, I rolled my eyes and I was like, this is just Hollywood being Hollywood and, trying to Fantastic Beasts, the Hunger Games. And but now seeing the end result, I am open to the idea of more. Where it's like, okay, now I can hear you out. Because as before, I was like, why would you make more Hunger Games? You ended it. I think it's perfect where it is. But now I'm open to exploring the world a little bit more because this has proven me wrong, and I'm open to being proven wrong again.
Yeah.
I
I
definitely
want
think
Haymitch's games. I want a big old book about Haymitch's games. And I would really like some novellas. Like I want one specifically about like an Avox, like in the capital. I want a book about one of them. I want a book about like a career tribute and like maybe them like realizing how fucked up the system that they're playing into is. Like I feel like it's one of those worlds where it's so well written that you can plop yourself down with almost any character and like have an interesting new perspective. So I really would just like to see like a whole bunch more.
I looked it up before we started recording, and Francis Lawrence, who directed Catching Fire through this one, he has said that I will not make any more Hunger Games movies if Suzanne does not want me to, and so
Mhm.
it is that.
Which is great. That's
Which
great.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say,
Yeah.
cool of him to say. The studio could always come in. The fuck
Yeah.
you are. I want a Hunger Games every year. But no, I
Yeah,
think it'd be
we have to
interesting.
have a movie for all the other 70 Hunger Games that
No.
happened.
Woo!
Yeah. So it basically just boils down to if it's a good story. Because most prequels, you could get something that as great as this, or you could end up with Fantastic Beasts and or parts of The Hobbit, where it's like not really working.
Yeah.
Um, I'm very glad that this again falling into like the discussion of like Easter eggs and stuff. I'm glad that this wasn't like nostalgia baity, which is what I was expecting it to be. Of just like remember the thing from the other movies, and I'm very glad that it didn't do that, or just like most prequels do, where it's like it's that character you like, but they're younger. I I if you can do that if there's a good story. So yeah, if there is it's all up to Suzanne at this point. If she can think of anything else to do with this world.
Yeah, speaking of the Easter eggs, and you're saying that there are cool Easter eggs, like on Lucy's dress, the flowers on her dress are primroses.
Roses.
And Katniss.
Yeah, that was really good.
The Katniss is good in the movie. It's so horrible in the book.
Yeah.
Everything is horrible in the book according to you
Because
guys.
it's in Snow's head. It all wraps
Yeah.
back to the movie is so much better because it's told outside of Snow's head. Because again,
Mhm.
Lucy picks
It's
that
the worst
Katniss
place to be.
plant, and
Mhm.
and Snow and his I hate Katniss. Katniss is the worst thing. And again, it's like the y'all gotta stop hammering this shit home.
Yeah. No, I think the line in the movie is so perfect. It's too early for Katniss, and then all the people making emotional edits with the it's not her time yet. She's gotta come later. They're not ready for her. And I'm like, ah.
Gonna say I heard you chuckle when they said that. It's too
Yeah,
early. Same
it's
thing
too
with the
early for Katniss.
Mockingjays.
Yeah.
like in the movie, he's just like now you're being silly, like you're making shit
Yeah.
up. Versus
Mhm.
again,
In
and
the books, he hates them actively. He hates all of those dumb fucking birds to the point where he goes to the peacekeeper base and he's like, "Hey, how about we just start killing them? Let's just start killing them for fun." And they do that for like a while.
do,
So
do you get it? Do you,
My God.
he hates
Yeah,
Katniss and wants to
I'm glad the
kill.
movie didn't do that because that's what I expected it to do. And I also expected
yeah.
Snow to not be as interesting of a character because I really thought it was just going to be, oh, he got his heart broken and that's why he's evil. But it's so much more interesting than that. And I applaud the movie for doing that, delivering that in such a brilliant way.
I don't know about the two of you, but I did also make a little where I think it falls in the movie franchise.
Ooh,
Of like, for
do tell.
myself, I would say Catching Fire is still my favorite.
Yeah, me too.
And then right now, I'm back and forth between The Hunger Games and The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Like, those are both rotating right now in the Tumblr in the middle. And then you've got Mockingjay Part 1 and then Part 2. I like it
Nice.
better than the two Mockingjay movies, that's for sure.
I don't know. It's so hard because those movies are like so nostalgic for me. Catching Fire is definitely my favorite still. I think second place has got to be probably the original Hunger Games. And then I think I would put this one between the two Mockingjays because I do like Mockingjay Part 2 just because of all of the PETA stuff, like all of the Katniss PETA stuff, like ending that arc. I really like that a lot. And I thought Part 1 was so boring because, like, in the book, it's just literally all the buildup as one movie. And I was like, nothing happens in this goddamn movie. So I think that one is my least favorite. And then Songbirds and Snakes is between the two. But it's just because I really like Mockingjay. So I don't know. That could change. I'm doing a rewatch with my mom, so maybe they'll flip flop. But
Yeah. I am also, well, soon I will be doing a rewatch with my mom. And I think I might be seeing Ballad again. Maybe in
nice.
theaters or just like when it comes to streaming, I guess. But I don't know. It's hard for me because I haven't seen the movies in a really long time, really since like high school. So just based off of memory. And the interesting thing is, it's like when it comes to like YA adaptations, it's not like the Harry Potters where it's like all the Harry Potters are so different that everyone has their favorite. Whereas like
Mhm.
the Hunger Games is kind of one like through line story straight through. So I don't, and so the general consensus is that Catching Fire is the best. Like everyone can agree on that. And so I guess I would say it's Catching Fire at the top, but Ballad almost kind of is on its tails a little bit. Just because I really like the tragedy of this movie, like that it's almost Shakespearean in a way, and it's so dark and sad that it really fits for me. That's why I'm like, oh, this is so great. It's so grim that I love it. Um, so yeah, I'll probably be Catching Fire with the Ballad right behind it, and then the first Hunger Games, and then the Mockingjays are just interchangeable. I'm just gonna count them as one thing. So Mockingjay at the bottom.
Cool, cool, cool. Yeah, I didn't mean to throw that at the two of you. Like I said, I just had that because, like, you two know I'm working on the video, looking back on the other
Woo!
movies. So it was like well, I just watched all those and took all my notes on them. And I think I like this one better than the other ones.
It could change when I rewatch them, but I think yeah, that's where it is with Catching Fire and the Ballad almost tying.
Well,
Well,
thank you too for being
Well,
here to share your thoughts with us. Go check out their channels, respectively. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.